Yeah, so these are all we already discussed. But this is the basic fundamental, right? So whatever the methods we have in the JPA repository, just check, especially this thing, right? So we have find all, find by ID. But in the table, we have so many other columns, right? We can't always do like find by ID. Sometimes we will try to get a non-primary column, right? So that time this predefined methods won't be sufficient, right? So what we should do, we should write our own methods. Okay. So for example, let's go to the database and see in the city table. I think for which we wrote, it's for city, right? So yeah, city has so many columns. So right now, the only possibility is we can get city by ID. For example, if you would like to city by country code, so how it is possible, right? So with with the predefined methods, right? So the data JPA has only find all by ID or find one, get one to ID or find by ID, right? So only these methods are. So get one, find all by ID. So or else let's go to CRUD repository. Even CRUD repository also only find by ID, right? So this also has only find by ID. So there is nothing like without non-primary key, right? Without non-primary key, we are not able to access the data. For example, if you would like to get the city names, right? For example, you would like to see the cities which are in the Australia, right? So you do right select star from city where country code equals to AUS, right? So something like this where you can execute the query, but using pre-default support of JPA, we cannot do it, right? So that time we go for customization. So to get this kind of requirement, when we wanted to do like any operation without primary key, right? So you no need to write the query, right? So how we are writing the query? So you no need to write that kind of query. So there is an existing method support is available, right? So if there is an existing method support is available, so this looks somehow paid out. Let's go to the actual documentation, right? Spring data, data JPA. Yeah. So when you would like to perform some select operation, right? When you would like to perform some select operation without primary key, so we have to write a method, something like this, right? So find by is a common thing. Find by is a common thing. Okay. And followed by which property basis, right? Which property basis you would like to perform the select operation. Find by country code, find by employee first name, last name, city, name, mobile price, right? So it's going to be find by property. So this property is supposed to be the property which is there in the entity class, right? So not the column name, it's supposed to be entity class property. Make sure you follow the Java naming convention, right? So in any Java, so the method should start with a lowercase and the remaining word should be camel case, right? The first letter should be capital in case. For example, if you would like to get by country code, then you should write something like this, right? Country code. So actually in Java, so you should have a property like this, right? So that can be anything, integer or whatever it is, right? Integer, string, whatever it is, but the first C should be small in case. So when you are writing, it's supposed to be capital in case, right? So this is what is the Java naming convention. So you should follow proper Java naming convention to define this. So when you write like this and you pass the country code, right? If you pass the country code and while passing, make sure this parameter and the Java entity both are matching. Okay. If it is not matching, what we will do, I will let you know. But make sure you're passing in the both the same, right? Country code should match your entity country code property. So what will happen? Internally, JPA generates query. Let's select start from city where now non-primary key column, right? Non-primary key column, and this is going to be prepare statement, right? So placeholder will be kept on the generated query. Placeholder will be kept on the generated query. So like this, you can write any method, but you should follow this standard, right? You should follow the standard. If you don't follow the standard while starting your application, you will get some kind of exception saying that this property not found in the specified entity class, right? So let's try. Let's go to our interface. Okay, let's try to fetch the city. So you should know whether it returns a single entity or it returns a multiple entities, right? You should know. If you expect that a single entity, but the query returns multiple rows, then you will get an exception where you got in the JDBC, right? So expected 0, return multiple like that. There should be some exception. We will see that exception also. So for now, let's try to get columns, right? Let's try to get the data by country code. And here, what should we do? We should pass the country code as a parameter. So you no need to write any query for this kind of requirement, right? So for this kind of requirement, we not supposed to write any query. Okay, now let's go to the main class and call this method. So we saw that day, right? How to fetch one particular city, how to fetch all cities. So those details we already saw. So now let's try to fetch by country, find by country code, and let's pass the country code, and we are going to get a list, right? So I don't assign it and do a for each. I will directly do a for each, right? So method chaining concept. We are doing this for so many days, so that's why we are directly doing it again. Okay. So this is nothing new, right? It's just a simple method chaining. Let's expand it. You see that the data will be, yeah, it will take a while to create the data source, right? Data source and all. So that's why it is little slow. Yeah. So you see that you got all the country details. Okay. And let's try to do one thing. Okay, now we know that, okay, this is going to return multiple, but for example, if you don't know what is the result, you expect one, but at runtime this is going to return multiple. At runtime this is going to return multiple. Let's see what is going to happen. So I deleted that collection, so let's remove the for each and just do a sysout, right? Let's remove the for each and just do a sysout because it is a single entity, right? So just to control F11 and see what is going to happen. Okay, so there is some exception. So we know this already, right? Query did not return unique result, right? It returned seven rows, right? So incorrect result size data access exception. I hope you remember this, right? Incorrect result size data access exception. In JDBC also we got the same error. Would you able to recollect? One thing, did I start the recording? Yeah.
Recording is it? No, in JDBC you won't get, right? I never see.
Okay, I think you forgot or you not practiced that one, right? So there are two exceptions we saw in the JDBC. One is
empty.
expected one, right? Found 0. So when there are no results.
Oh, this one. Okay, got it.
Expected 1, found 7.
Found more.
Right? Yeah. So it's not exactly 7. Found like multiple. It can be 2.
More than one.
So that is what is the incorrect result data exception. Okay, incorrect result data exception. So while you are writing this method, you should know whether it's going to return a collection or it's going to return a single entity. If you write a
Okay. Okay, you are talking about Spring JDBC, right? Okay. Yeah, there we saw. I remember.
It's the same concept to Jata JP also. Okay. So
Okay.
while you
Yeah.
are writing this method, you should know whether this method returns a collection or single entity. So if you expect a single entity, and if the method returns a collection, if more than one record identified with this query generation, and you are expecting one, then Spring will throw an exception. That exception is incorrect result size data exception, the same thing like JDBC. So while you are writing data JPA application, you should handle this scenario. Okay, make sure you write your methods properly, how you are writing your queries and extracting the data. So while you are writing your method also, you should define it properly. So it's better to define a list, because list can hold list can hold one or more elements, right? So if it returns one, then this is going to be one indexed parameterized, right? One index. So if database is going to return multiple, then this collection is going to hold on. Okay. So that is what is incorrect result size exception. This is already there in the JDB. Okay. So while you are writing the method, you must know whether this returns a collection or single, and make sure that for the best practice is return always a collection, so that it can handle to hold multiple records, right? So why I am saying this for non primary key? Can you guess why this scenario is going to happen for non-primary key? Because in the database, in one table,
Primary key will be only one.
only one, but non-primary can be duplicated, right? So that's why
Yes.
So that's why I'm just telling list city. So whenever you are writing any find by non-primary key, usually you write it for non-primary key only. If it is a primary key, then you can use find by ID, right? It's already written. It's already written in the JPA, and it's already written in the CRUD repository. You can use that. You no need to write this method. When you would like to fetch the data by using primary key, it's if you write something, it's waste, because it's already written in JPA, data JPA. So usually you write your method for non-primary key. So whenever you are writing a find by method, make sure you expect a collection, because there might be multiple rows with the same data. So it's better to return a collection. Okay, it's better to return a collection. Okay. Yes. So this is one thing which you guys needs to remember, right? So whenever you are writing a find by some column name, so you can expect multiple rows, right? Multiple rows will be present with that non-primary key column. So it might be possible, right? There might be some chance. So it's better to return a collection all the time whenever you are writing any find by ID. Okay. So not only one column, there are so many operations you can do, right? So if you would like to do some end condition, yes, right? When you want to join two columns, like find by employee last name and first name, right? Last name and first name. So the equivalent query, where x means the employee kind of, right? Employee column synonym, right? X dot last name and X dot first name. So this is what is equivalent query. So you can also write or condition, right? So last name or first name, last name or first name. And sometimes you want to check some equality. By default, it's equal only. Find by first name is find by first name. Find by first name is find by first name equals, all are same only. It's better to use the first criteria, right? So by default, it's equal condition. It's going to check. You don't need to specify explicitly is, equals, not required. Okay, so these two are still supportable, but not recommended to use. Let's use directly like find by. So writing this query, or find by country code is, or find by country code equals, all are same. All are same. There is no difference, right? All are same. So let me put it side by side, then you will understand. Okay. So is equals, all these are going to check equal condition only. So better to follow the first approach, right? In the documentation, you see there are three are there. Don't get confused, all are same. It's better to use the first condition, right? They will check equal operator. So you can also do some between condition, where employee salary between 10 to 20,000, right? Or 1 lakh to 2 lakhs, right? Or some the employee who are on bench between 2 to 3 months or 3 to 6 months, right? Some between operator. So, and you can also check less than equals to greater than equals to after. This is for date. Before also it's for date. You can also check is null, is not null, right? So both are same, is null or null, is not null or not null. So you can mention is or don't mention is, both will work in the same way. Like operator, not like, okay, not like, starting with, ending with, containing. So don't use like, use like containing. And yeah, so order by, not in, true, false, ignore case, right? So equal, ignore, containing, ignore case also you can check. Okay, containing, ignore case, I think combination also you can do it. Okay, so these many ways we can write the methods. So wherever it is possible, try to avoid writing queries, because you're gonna get a an SQL interoperable application, right? So when you are going to write any JPA application, it's going to be SQL interoperable. So by doing very minimal changes, your application should be running on multiple databases. So that is what is the target of using JPA, right? So that is what is the target of using JPA. So wherever it is possible, try to avoid using, right? Try to avoid using find queries. And if you would like to do some kind of select operations without non-primary key, so there is a huge support is available, huge. And with primary key, you can also apply less than, after, before, null, not like, contains, ending with, starting with, order by, right? Order by, true, false, right? All these conditions you can apply. Okay, so this is how we do use find by method convention, right? So find by method convention, so it's pretty easy, right? It's pretty easy. Let's write a couple of examples. Okay, so we have problems like, we
Sunil, one question. Suppose we have multiple parameters, then same way we will pass, right? Like comma and
yes,
then we
for
will.
example, country code, and let me check what data we have, right? In
Regarding population or district, something like.
Yeah, so the name we will give Melbourne, right? So country code is Australia, and the city name. Let's write another method. Okay, so city find by country country code and name. Right? It's in I think in the Java file. What we give name, right? Yeah. So it's a name, N capital. Yes, name. So we need to pass two parameters. So the first one is country code, and the second parameter is city name, right? City name. So now let's go to your main class. Okay, main class, you call country code and city name. First parameter is Australia, and second parameter is Melbourne, right? So let's pass that out. Okay, so you're gonna get one parameter, one city back. So we will print the data on the console. Right? We will print those details on the console.
Okay. So Sunil, like using the method name, it will take the parameter name and form the SQL, right? Internally JPA.
Yes, so this is what is the query, right?
Okay.
Select
Yeah, yeah.
star from city, where city dot country code, yes, country code and city dot name, right? Name.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so you have to be careful while writing the method name. Something wrong, it will throw error.
Yeah, I told, right, already that I said. So while writing your method, you should be very careful, right? So this is supposed to follow all the Java naming conventions, and you have to give the property which is there in the
The
your
Pojo,
model class.
your model. Okay.
Okay, for example, if you do some kind of mistake, then you will get an exception saying that there is no column found or something like that, right? So some kind of typo mistake. Let's run this code. You will get, okay. This is the standalone application, so that's why while running we are getting this exception. So when we integrate with the web, you while starting the server itself, you will get an exception, right? So no property country C code, right? So typo mistake, country C code found on type city, right? So do you mean the country code? It is also giving some kind of suggestion, right? Do you mean country code? Yes, let's go and do the check, right? And one more thing I would like to show you here is look at the parameters, whatever we are passing to this method, right? So we have to follow the model entity class parameter naming conventions. The parameter is country code. So your interface method parameter also country code. When the property name is key, your parameter name also it's the name also name, right? So if you don't like to follow this, for example, if you give city, right, city name, let's see what will happen, right? The in Java parameter name is name, but we are trying to pass city name. What will happen? Let's run the code. Okay, what you guess? Will this run or will this throw any exception? What you are thinking? Any guess?
It will work, right?
What about others?
It will throw an exception.
Because name.
You just try that out. Okay, Venkat, Sharath, Abhi. I got response from Anshu, Chintesh, Hari, Jaga, Chupudi, Madhu responded, Viji.
Yeah, it will throw exception because name is exactly not matching to the poser class. Right?
Yes, let's try that out, right? So will throw the exception. Will it throw the exception or will it take care automatically? The Spring data is like intelligent and take care about that. See, okay. So it is automatically taking care, right? So it's automatically taking care. So we no need to worry, right? So whenever you are passing the data wrongly, so it's going to populate it in the second parameter, right? So these are the placeholders, right? So these are the placeholders. So if you don't follow the naming convention, still it is fine. So it is all how you write the method is matter, right? How you write the method is matter. So still you would like to give a different name, right? Different name. It is better to follow, right? A param convention, right? A param convention. So you can define your own name and you can still make understand the developers. Okay. So it looks like something different, but in the Java, this is going to be in the entity class. This is going to be mapped to name. But anyway, this is optional, right? The Spring Data JPA can take care about it, right? So even though it is not matching, the parameter is not matching, Data JPA still take care about that part, and Data JPA will try to give the response, right? So this is how we should take care about this and operator. Yeah, I am just showing one or two examples. What you should do, you should try each every operator. You should write for every operator. You should write one method, execute the code. Okay, that is what you have to do. So and operator or operator is equal, between, less than or equals to, greater than or equals to, after, before, is null, not null, like, not like, starting with, ending with, containing, order by, not in, or not in, true, false, right? So like this you should follow. So let's apply order by, right? So let's apply order by. So here we have find by country code and name, followed by order by name, right? Order by name. Let's order by city name. Let's order by city name, and we can also say ascending or descending. By default, it is ascending order, right? By default, if you don't specify anything. So what we are doing here, we are executing query, right? Select star from city, where country code and the name, order by name, ascending order. So now let's go to the main class, right? Let's go to the main class and run the code. Okay, you get the data in the order manner, okay, but it should be like ascending order, right? So the data is in ascend. Okay, we got only one result, right? So let's okay, we are getting only one result, so that's why you are not able to see order. What we will do, let's change this, right? Undo to R, right? City, country code, R name. So R name, R condition, R name, order by name. So this time we will get multiple records, right? This time we will get multiple records. So let's change the return type to collection. So let's go ahead and call this method. Let's go ahead and call this method. So for now, let's comment this code. Okay. Just stop me if you are not able to follow anything or if I am going fast. Okay. So let's pass country. Country name is Australia, and city name is Melbourne. Okay, R condition, so we will get all the rows which are matching this country and the city, and yeah, only two parameters, right? So this is going to be a collection. This is going to return a collection. So we can use for each method, right? We can use for each method, and inside this for each, let's print the data, right? So let's print the data on the console, right? Print data, yes. Okay, so you see that now the data is we are getting in a asynchronous by name, right? So B C G G H M P, right? So if you would like to get descending order, for example, if you would like to get in descending order, you just say descending DESC or DSC. Let me check. Yeah, DESC, right? So descending order. Let's just call this method. You see that the data will be printed on the console in the reverse order. So now this time it's going to be Towns Valley, then Melbourne, right? So Melbourne, Hobart, and Gold Coast, right? So like this, the data will be printing. So now this time the data is going to come in the reverse order, like mobile sorting, reverse of pricing, right? So price high to low, so that this kind of searching can be done like this, right? If you go to any e-commerce site, the common requirement, right? Fetching is a common requirement. Sorting data. So let's go to mobiles. It's very common, right? Yeah. So in the mobiles, let's open one category. Yeah, Samsung Galaxy. Let's click on mobiles. Why it's not listing all the mobiles? Let's select only Samsung. Yeah, so there is a right, yeah, sort by, right? So price high to low to high is the default, right? 0 to infinity is a default starting order. High to low, right? Reverse order. So first you will get high price, then followed by low price, right? So that is what is I mean descending order sorting, right? So when you select that, you see that price is like 1,50,000 mobile. Yeah, of course. Very rare people can buy this, right? So very huge price. Yeah. So that kind of thing can be implemented by using descending order. Okay. So you can do. There are so many ways you can fetch the data. Right. Most probably, 50 to 60% of the requirement can be covered by using this find by approach. Almost like 50%. Already 10 to 20% is our primary classes, right? Our existing predefined repositories methods are sufficient. Find by, save, delete, update, right? Save, delete, find by ID, find all, get one, right? All these methods are sufficient. On top of that, if you would like to write some custom select query, right? Then you can do it like this, right? Custom select query. Then you can use this find by operator, and there are so many operators are available. Like almost 40 to 50% of the requirement can be done by using this approach, right? Can be done by using this approach. Okay. But let's see one more scenario here, right? Sometimes you expect the data. For example, find by country code name, right? And the name order by name. So some you're expecting at least one record should be present. If there are more than one record, just now we saw that you will get incorrect result size data exception, right? You should remember this naming convention. At least when you get more than one record, right? And you define return type is one, and you get more records from the database, then you should remember some kind of exception you're gonna get, like incorrect result size data exception. Let's go reverse it. When you get more rows, you get incorrect result size exception. When you get zero number of rows. For example, you're expecting some data, but the data was not there. For example, in the last query, right? So let's comment this one now, R condition. Let's go to AND condition. So let's pass some city name which is not there in the Australia, right? So let's send the Hyderabad, right? So yeah, so let's send this Hyderabad and let's try to expect some data. But Australia doesn't have Hyderabad, right? India has Hyderabad, so we cannot get any rows. So we are expecting one row, right? Expecting one row from the database, but there are no rows returned. What will happen? Can you guess? In JDBC, what happened?
Empty result something exception.
Yeah, so there is some exception. Yes, this is an exceptional scenario in JDBC, right? Exception scenario in JDBC. But in data JPA, what will happen? Can you guess? Just try that out. What is going to happen? Shall we get the same exception? Like whatever it happened for incorrect result says data exception. This is what it happened in JDBC. It happened on data JPA also. Then what about this? So if it is JDBC application, for sure we will get some exception, right? Empty result set exception, something like that. But what about data JPA? Any guess? Shall we gonna get exception? You just try.
Yeah. Exception.
Okay. So what about others?
Exception, same. Exception, sir.
Okay. Let's try that out, right? So we are expecting the data. The data is not available, right? So what will happen? If it is JDBC, for sure it's an exception. We wrote exception handling also, right? So let's see what will happen in the case of data JPA, right? So data JPA is little smarter than the JDBC, right? If it is a JDBC, we used to get exception, but in the case of data JPA, it won't throw the exception. It will return null, right? It will return null. So it's better to do one thing, right? It's better to do one thing. So in Java 8, there is a class introduced, right? There is a feature introduced called optional, right? Optional. So you should use that optional because there might be some chance you can get exception, right? So there might be some chance you can get null. Java.util.optional. So this has some utility methods to check, right, whether the data is present or not. Instead of checking not null, you can check if present or is present, right? So there are methods like is present, if present. If data is present, then do this. If data is not present or else, you can write or else also, or else. Or else if data is not coming from the database, what we should do, or else, right? And if you would like to apply some condition, filter, map, flat map, right? So filter, map, flat map kind of operation support we have on optional. So it's better to start using that optional, right? So if for example in the last case, right, if I don't use optional, so what should I do to avoid null pointer exception in our main class? So we should do a null check, right? We should do a null check. So yeah, let's assign this city equals to, and if I'm directly calling city dot, right, if I'm directly calling city dot
Boom.
some
Yeah, null pointer.
then we will get null pointer exception. So it is not a good practice, right? So what should we do? We should check null not equals to, right, imperative code. This is what we call writing imperative code, right? If null not equals to 2, then get this, else print no data is present on the database, right? So but this is not is a functional model of writing code, right? This is not is a functional model of writing code. You know why we are insisting to write this code? Okay, I will tell out of the in our real time industry. So we should compete these kind of technologies, right, like Kotlin, Groovy, because Java has support. Java got that kind of support with JDK 1.8. So we should stop writing this kind of imperative code, right? If and all we should remove, and we should change this code, okay, to optional. And we should write the code something like this, right? If present, so it's optional thing, right? This is what is the necessity. Why should we start using functional programming? Because other technologies, they are rocking, and they are trying to reduce the dependency of Java. Okay, so not like Kotlin, Groovy. Java has huge customer base, right? Huge support, right? So we should do the things in a Java way. Okay, so Java is nothing less when we compare with the Kotlin and all. Maybe in next couple of years, Java will cross that for sure, right? So at least it might be late. Oracle people got realized, and they are bringing all the features what other technologies are providing, right? So our Java also going to beat all these technologies, but it will take some time. Okay. Yes. Now, yeah. So we can remove that imperative code styling, and we can do if present, right? If present. So these kind of things we can start doing it, right? If present or else, right? Yes. Okay. If present, you can get the data, and you can print it, or you can process with how you want to use, so that you can do. Okay. So it's better to start using optional instead of using if not equals to null. Okay. Yeah. So, so you can, right, without null check, you can still safely print the data. Right. So no data is present. So that is the reason why nothing got printed. Right. So if data is present, then it will print that, right? It will print that. Okay. So that's how we should avoid that if null check and all. Yes. So yeah, let's come back anyway.
Sunil,
Yeah.
a city is null, right? And null you are calling if present.
Hmm.
Is it fine?
That's
How they are eliminating that?
it
Because it's
internally
a null,
check
right?
is present. It internally check value null equals to null, and right. So whatever we are doing it, that is going to be taken care. It's the same thing, but we will use like functional model. We will do the things like functional model and chaining. Internally, they will check that null condition. If it is not null, then only they will process it. If it is null, they don't process.
Okay.
Okay, so with this we are done with the methods, right? Custom methods, query methods concept, right? If find by model, we are done. And when there are no rows, so in JDBC we will get an exception, right? In Jetta JPA we don't get exception, but the excuse me, there should be some exception when there are more number of rows are required, right? Returns, for example, we're expect one and we are getting more, then the the Spring will throw an exception saying that incorrect result size data access exception, right? Okay. Yeah, so with this, at least like 40 to 50% of the things are completed. At least like still we came like up to like 40 to 50%, right? 40 to 50% of the applications, right? Can we can avoid writing queries, right? But there are some cases where you have to go for some kind of complicated stuff, right? I will show. Okay, so we will be stepping up to the next level now. Okay, so till now we are using the Spring data features, but I will show one example. Okay, yeah, but anyway, first of all, let's look at this data. Okay, so we have a table called mobile. Okay, here we have data like the name can be common, the prices are different, right? So in the same model, right, in the same category, we have multiple prices like 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. In the same 10,000, we have different model of selling, right? Online. So the same 10,000 mobile, we will purchase it on online. So the same 10,000 Samsung mobile, we will sell it on the retail customers. So right, but the 10,000, the 10,000 price model is not available on the indirect. So I told right, line of business. Online means it is like where it's like our .com or .in site, the customer will log in and buy over there. And retail means the customer will visit our store and he will buy. And indirect means some kind of third party, right? So who will sell our mobiles like Big C, right? So lot mobiles. So those kind of vendors who will take the franchise and they will sell the products, right? So there are three types of business we have. So we are inserting multiple data because the customer can do a different kind of search, right? So why we are going for this kind of example, right? Look at this scenario below, where like we are implementing some kind of searching algorithm, right? Searching mechanism where the name can be Samsung, right? So the customer want to see the Samsung mobile, where the price range is 10,000, right? Price range is 10,000. So we will give two rows, right? One is online, okay, whether you can buy it on online or you can go to store, nearest store, and you can see the model and you can talk to our sales executive and buy, right? There are two options we are doing, right? There are two options we are doing. For example, there is a model called Nokia, right? So there is a model called Nokia. If the customer would like to buy a Nokia model, then we will say that, okay, for Nokia, we have only one price range called 20,000, right? So when the customer send, I want Nokia mobile, so we will return these results, right? So for Nokia only 20,000 or 15,000 is available. You can buy it in the two ways, but this is not available on the store, right? You can't go and check it in the retail store. So either you have to buy it on the online direct domain, or you should go to nearest third party vendor, right? Third party vendor and who can sell our mobiles, right? So this is what is right. So this is what is the search criteria. So when you say that I want Nokia mobile, then we will suggest that you have to place it on online, or you should go and buy it on indirect store, right? So I hope you understood the difference between a retail store and indirect store. Any doubts you have? Retail means it's like our company, right? Like retail means Samsung,
Company outlet. Company outlet.
whereas the indirect means Big C, Lot Mobile, right? So they are not direct company retail store, right? They are like took the franchise and selling the mobiles, right? So that is what is the difference between retail and indirect. So whereas the retail means it's the direct Samsung store, whereas the indirect means it is not Samsung store, but still they will sell the Samsung mobile. So that is what it is. So for example, Nokia. So in Nokia, in our for example, in our area or in our country, we don't have retail store. Either you can place an online order or some third party is selling. If you would like to buy, you can go ahead and buy, right? And sometimes we will implement some kind of search criteria search, where the customer wants a mobile which costs 10,000, and he want to place an online, right? So he doesn't want to go to any retail store. He doesn't want to go to any third party store. He want to place an in online order. Then we will give multiple records, right? So Samsung is available on online, so we will give that. Mi also available. Okay, Mi is not available online, so we don't give that. So we will give Nokia, but the price range is not matching. So Honor is available, right? Honor is not available, so we will give one result. Okay. So like this, the result search is going to implement, right? So that the same thing we're going to implement, right? The same thing we're going to implement now. So these kind of requirement cannot be implemented by using find by. The problem is we don't know, right, how many parameters the customer can pass. He can pass mobile name, he can pass price, he can pass status, he can pass LOB, right? So we don't know how many parameters the customer is going to pass. For example, if you write a method which supports a name, find by name. For example, you thought like this, right? Find by name, string name. But what about the scenario if the customer passes name with price? this won't sufficient, right? Then you have to write one more method. Oh, okay, this is not suitable for me, so I should go and write one more. Okay, find by name, right? Name and price. All these are and operations. Usually the searching filtering should done by and operation, right? Name, int, price. Okay, fine. But all of a sudden customer said, I want to see available, only available, right? Some stack is available, some stack is not available. So where the customer said, okay, the status is available. Oh, status won't be supported. Okay, let me write one more, right? Find by name, right? And price and status. Okay, so then okay, it's fine. But this is a huge, like this is a blender, right? Why? Because how can you expect all the time all the three parameters? There might be some chance where customer can do a searching of name and status also, right? You're restricting name, price should be sending, but the customer doesn't bother about price, like a rich customer, right? Rich customer, for him price is doesn't matter. He want to see any mobile, right? Particular any Samsung mobile which is available irrespective of the price. So now the search criteria got changed. Then you will write, okay, find by name and status. Okay, so this time it's going to be string name, comma, string status. Okay, then all of a sudden tomorrow we want to apply some LOB filter, right? Then you started writing so many methods, right? So many methods. So find by won't be suitable for this kind of requirements, right? So for example, some kind of filtering you would like to do, then find by won't be suitable, right? So to apply all these four, right? All the combinations, right? Permutations and combinations you have to follow. You should write individual method. The customer can send name, price, status, log, 4 methods. Combination of these two, right? One, like for example, if you do like A, B, C, D, right? Four parameters you are using for filtering. All the permutations and combinations you should follow, right? So it can be we cannot restrict. You can do a name search, you can do a price search, you can do a status search, you can do a LOB search, and it is a combination also. Name and price, name and status, right? Name and LOB. It can be combination of multiple name, price, status, name, status, LOB, name, price, LOB. Like that, there are multiple ways the customer can do the filter, right? Let's go to any site. Go to mobiles. Okay. Let's click on the mobile. You see the left hand side, there are so many options are available, right? So let's click on a particular category, right? So now I would like to do a search by name, right? So let's search by Samsung, right? So yeah, let's search by Samsung. Okay, it is directly taking to the records, but we don't want that, right? We want to go for some filtering concept. So yeah, let's do this. Mobile brands. Okay, let's select all Samsung mobiles, right? This is my first filter, name by name, right? So this is what we did. So now I will apply some price range, right? So price, some 5,000 to 10,000, right? So it's a combination, right? So now name and price, but your method should support both. Whether he is sending name, you should return those results. If he is applied the price, it's like or and condition, right? So if it comes, then you should apply. If it is not coming, then you're not supposed to apply, right? So how you should write the method? The price, you should accept the price. If the price value is present, you should apply the filter. If the price value is not present, then you should not apply. So the same thing is for status also. If the status, you should accept the status. The same method should accept the status. If the value coming for the status, then you should apply that filter. If the value is not coming, right? If he is not selected the status, status, right? So then you should avoid that. For example, customer review, right? Yeah, customer review. If he click on the customer review, then you should select that, right? You should give the result. If he is not selected, then you should remove that. You should not apply that, right? And the same thing for LOB also. And you should not write so many methods for this kind of requirement. Find by is not completely suitable. Then how can we do that, right? So let's go to the queries, right? Let's go to the table, and I'll show you, right? Usually how we can achieve these kind of requirements like tables, mobiles. Yeah, I'm going to operate on mobiles. Okay, so let's select some data. Yeah, so I'll write the query like this, right? Select star from mobiles. Okay, where name equals to, right? Name equals to yes. If name is passing, right? Name is passing, we will give the name. If name is not passing, then we should give all the result, right? The same query, right? If the same query, if name is passed, then we should give the name. If name is not passed, then we should give all the result flag, right? Result flag. So what should I do? I should change the query something like this, right? So, or if the value is passing, return that. If the value is not passing, then return all, right? So name is null. Okay, then it works for all, right? If I pass the name, if I pass the name column, then you should the data will be populated. If I don't pass the name, right? If I don't pass the name, for example, name equals to null, then I should get all the rows back, right? So this query will give this query name is null or name is some with
Not null we have to give right now.
not null. One second. Mobiles. But we should also take care about okay, yeah, not null. Let's apply this. And the same query, in the same query, if price is coming, then we will give the result. If the price is not coming, then we will ignore, right? So price is not null, or price is can be empty also, right? So if the price is coming, we will give the price. If the price is not coming, then we will give all the result. For example, let's run this query, you get all. For example, tomorrow you wanted to do a search by price like 10,000, you will give only, right? So this is not correct. So still you are getting all, right? So this query is not correct. Name is null. Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, if the query value is not populated, then you should do like this. Okay. Let's run this query. Where the price is 10,000, right? Price is 10,000. Yeah, so the value will be populated here. Okay, if you give the value will be populated. Yes. If you give the name, then the value will be populated, right? So this is the column value, right? This is the column value. Yes. Okay, so Samsung with 10,000, there is no mobiles. That's why we didn't get the data. Yes. Okay, and if you would like to give, if you don't pass the name, if you don't pass this column, then this 10,000 will be populated with null. This 10,000 will be populated with null. If you pass the value, this null will be populated with the actual value, right? So by actual value, so it's going to be 10,000. So you will get only the mobiles which are having the price 10,000. Okay. So some complicated query, by writing some complicated query, we will solve this problem. So for example, if you would like to get a 10,000 Samsung mobile, then you should pass, okay, the column value, right? You will get only 10,000. Okay. On top of this, you can also apply status. Status 0 means available, 1 means not available. LOB 0 means actually in the MySQL, the enums will be represented by using this zeros one. That is what is a problem. Okay. So this is the mobile entity which we're going to play now. Okay. So LOB means 0 means I think online, 1 means retail, 2 means indirect. Okay. Yeah. So here is the query which we wrote. Yeah. So 0 means online. Okay. Enum is going to be populated like this, right? 0 means online, retail means 1, indirect means 2. So in database, when you see 0, 1, 2, don't get confused. That is equivalent enum value, right? So that's how the enums uh, will be working whenever we are working with the data JP and MySQL. Okay. So 0 means online, uh, 1 means retail, 2 means indirect. The same thing for status. It's actually not AVA. It's supposed to be some available, but that's fine. AVA means available. NAVA means not available. Not available, right? So that's how the data will be copied. Okay. So we can, yeah. So you have to write this kind of complicated query. So when it is a query, right? It is a complicated native query. Find by ID, find by and all won't work, right? So what should we do? We should write equivalent query concept, right? Equivalent query concept in Spring also. For that purpose, we have query annotation, but it is not raw SQL query, right? It is not raw SQL query. We are going to write, right? We are going to write JPQ, Java Persistence Query Language, right? So JPQL, what is the language we're going to use? JPQL. It's pretty easy. Okay, don't think it's like too much complicated query. No, as in if you have basic knowledge on SQL, writing JPQL is very easy, right? So for example, if you have a query like this, select star from city or country or mobiles, right? Mobiles. Okay. In your Java, if you write like this, public class mobiles, or else mobile and you annotated with at table mobiles. Okay, let's give a different name. So your table name and entity name are not matching. So you should use at table annotation, So here you should give table name as mobiles, fine. So whenever you want to write equivalent JPQL query, right? So this is going to be SQL, and you want to write equivalent JPQL query. So you should write something like this: select, okay, select from, okay, select I think select M from mobile. Okay, so this is equivalent JPQL query. Select M from mobile. Select star, instead of star you should give M, and here you should specify mobile M. And you would like to apply some condition where right, for example M dot, right? For example in SQL you do right, where only. But here what is the change? For example, mobile ID. Okay, in database you might have mobile hyphen ID, right? Mobile hyphen ID equals to some condition we have, right? Some condition you have. It's better to use underscore, right? Mobile underscore ID. But in Java, you might have defined something like this, right? So it's not mobile ID. For example, you define the property as ID, right? Private int ID. So the column name and the property name are not matching. First of all, this is ID for sure. Some generated value, that is fine. And the column value and the property name and the column value both are not matching. Then you should specify that column name using at column annotation. So whenever you are writing the JPQL query, you should use ID, Java property. You're going to use, not the actual column. So JPQL is nothing but object-oriented SQL, right? It's always talks about entity class and entity parameters. Okay, all query, the complete query looks like entity class and entity parameters. If it is SQL, it's going to talk about table and columns. It's going to talk about table and columns. When it is coming to JPQL, we will write, right, entity and associated. So that is what is the example. Select u from user, u, where u dot email address equals to question mark, right? Question mark. So when you see this kind of behavior, right? So when you see this kind of JPQL, so you should understand, okay, the corresponding select query is select star from user, table user here. User means the table here in the below, and where email address, right? So the column name is email address if it is matching. Otherwise, if this property has at column annotation and the table we have underscore, right? So that is what it's going to be replaced. If that property doesn't have at column, then it is going to be created, right? So we are going to write JPQL. But you can also write SQL query, native SQL query also you can write in the JPA code, the string data JPA, but that is not recommended. We should avoid writing very as much as possible. You should write very minimal native SQL query. If you write native SQL query, what is the problem? Your application becomes database dependent. If you write JPQL, what is the benefit you're gonna get? Your application is SQL, database interoperable. It will work on Postgre, it will work on MySQL, it will work on Oracle, right? It will work on any RDBMS, right? So what is the benefit of JPQL? So you no need to change anything in your code whenever you are switching from one database to another database. So the underlying SQL query will be generated by, right, dialect class, right? So underlying SQL query is going to be generated by dialect class. So the biggest benefit is using JPQL queries. They are database independent queries, so they can work on any kind of database. So you're gonna get the benefit of database interoperability, right? So the database interoperability kind of benefit you're gonna get. So it's better to use JPQL queries, okay? But Spring Data JPA supports writing native query also. Native query support also available. So let's quickly convert this into JPQL query, right? So let's quickly convert this into JPQL query. So and let's apply the remaining columns also. And so status is null. Yeah, to write this kind of queries, you should good in SQL. Okay, status equals to, yeah, the actual column, right? Status. So actual column value. If the column value is coming, it will be populated. If it is not coming, then it will be generated as null and like this. Okay, but anyway, this is not the good practice. I will tell you how can we remove this code. How can we come out of this kind of problem? Okay, by using pure Java, how can we solve this complicated query issue also, I will tell you. But this is one way you can write queries in the data JPA. Okay, first let's complete this by using native query. Later we will convert this into JPQ. Okay, so LOB equals to some value, right? LOB equals to LOB. Okay, so let's put the things back. Okay, so I'll mark this as name column. Okay, name column value. Okay, so this is what we gonna pass. Yes, better you get better idea now. Price column value. If the price column value is sending, the value will be populated. Otherwise, it will be populated as null. So status column value. Okay, status column value. Yeah, so it's same here. So this is the input, whatever we're going to pass. If you don't pass, the null will be populated. If you pass, that corresponding value will be populated. So this is the generic query, whatever we're going to write. For example, at runtime, if you pass only price, not the remaining columns. So the remaining properties will be populated as, right, like this. So we are just checking only for price, right? So the remaining properties will be populated as null. Okay, most of the people do this. Okay, whenever they want to apply this kind of column optional feature. So yeah, we send only 10,000, right? I think four zeros. Yeah, for price. So the 10,000 will be populated here, and this is going to give the results, right? This is going to give the results. The mobile price, where the mobile price is 10,000. If you don't pass mobile price also, no filter is passed, then you will get all the records, right? You will get all the records. So this is how you should implement filtering logic in the application. What's up? Sorry.
Null spelling.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna get all the rows information. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is what is the query. This is what is the actual query, right? So the query template. Okay. So now let's convert this into JPQL, right? So we don't want to use the native query. Okay, so that is not recommended. So let's convert this into JPQL, right? So select M from what is the entity class name? Mobiles, right?
Mobile.
Mobiles, yeah. So mobiles, M, where M dot, okay, M dot, what is the property name? Name, right? So if name is coming, it's fine. M dot name can be null, or M dot, right? So whether you can pass the data or not. So this is your first placeholder. Okay, it's going to be one question. Okay, yes. If the value is coming, it will be populated. If the value is not coming, it's going to be populated null equals to null and m dot mobile equals to null. Okay, so this is what is the first placeholder. So we are going in a placeholder model, right? We are going in a placeholder model. That's why we are writing the query like this, right? So it's going to be question mark 1. I think I put it one question mark wrong. It's question mark 1, first placeholder, right? First placeholder. Let's write the second column. Okay, yeah. So now second placeholder may come, may not come. So that's why we are writing is null or m dot what is the next thing? Price. So price may come, may not come, right? Price may come, may not come. So m dot price equals to question mark 2, and next third placeholder can be null or may pass or may not pass. So next one is status, right? Status equals to third placeholder. Okay, and fourth placeholder is this, right? Question mark. Yeah. If we don't pass the parameter, then check null condition. If you are passing the parameter value, right, I think LOB equals to fourth parameter, right? So this is how we should convert our raw native SQL query into JP, right? Mostly it looks like very familiar and very easy, right? Yeah. So this is with placeholders, right? This is with the placeholders. Instead of going with the placeholders, if you would like to go with the named parameters, right? Named parameters where we can get the better readability, right? Better readability. So let's implement named parameters, right? Named parameters model. So mobiles m, it's almost the same query. Where, so instead of using question mark colon, we'll put, right? placeholder name is null, sorry, it's not, or m dot name colon equals to name placeholder. Okay, so this is our first condition, and the second condition is, okay, so price can be null, right? Price can be null or m dot price, okay, equals to second parameter. What is the third parameter? Status, right? So let's give status. These are the placeholders. You can give any name. Okay, we are giving most relevant name. That's why we are using price range status. Okay, or m dot status equals to question mark. Okay, and the last but not least, right? It's going to be LOB, right? LOB is null or m dot LOB, right, equals to. Okay, so this is equivalent to named query. So the first one is the native SQL query. Native SQL query. Okay, the second one is JPQL with placeholders. Okay, you have to be there for some time. If you are not able to understand when I write the code and execute it, then you will get a better idea. Okay, so don't get confused. Okay, if you are not able to follow, still it's fine. When I show you the example, you will get better idea. Okay, with named parameters. If you are, I mean, somewhat not working more on the SQLs, then you don't understand because we are writing complicated query here, right? Yes. Okay, so this is with placeholders. This is native SQL query. This is with named parameter, right? Named parameter. So let's take any one of the example. Let's try to implement the named parameter model. Now let's go to our repository class. Okay, repository class. Yeah. So I wanted to get the data, right? I wanted to get the data. So what should I do? I should put that query here. Okay, and we should do at query. Okay, at query. We are breaking into multiple lines, right? So we should do the string concatenation. So we break the query into multiple lines. So we just simply needs to do this string concatenation, then things will work. Okay. So yeah, let's close the query, right? Let's close the. Let's write a method, right? Let it be by default. It's public. It's as it is interface. So public. Okay, it's going to return list of city. Okay, list of city. Then we will call this like find by, or else you can give any name. No need to say find by because we are writing our own query, right? So it's not city, it's a mobiles, right? So we're gonna get list of mobiles. List of mobiles. Okay. Next thing is get mobiles, right? Get mobiles by filters. Okay, get mobiles by filters. Okay, so now we need to pass 4 parameters, right? First one is name, second one is price, right? Let it be integer because we will populate null, right? So let's send integer. Okay, and we're gonna pass the third parameter string status, and the fourth parameter string LOB. Okay, so it is a small mistake here. So whenever you write JPQL query, right? Whenever you write JPQL query, so you need to pass the exact type. Okay, so it is not a string. It is going to be the status, right? It is going to be the status, and this is going to be LOB. This is going to be LOB. Okay. So this is how we should write the query, and you should call this method, you should call this method, and you should if you pass the parameters, the data will come. If you don't pass the parameter, then the data will not be coming. So let's go to our application, and we can write a command line, right? We can write a command line, and we can check that out whether we are getting the data or not, right? So we will start with this command line model. Later we will integrate into mobile application, right? Later we will integrate into mobile application. So right now we didn't integrate, right? So let's first test this as a command line application and check whether the data is coming with parameters or not. Later you will see in the real time how we gonna use it. Command line runner start. Okay, and we need this repository, right? So let's inject this repository. Okay, let's inject the repository. Okay, let's call repo, and you just return or right, lambda expression command line runner implementation. You call report dot get mobiles by filter. Okay, if you don't pass any parameter, for example everything is null, if you don't pass any parameter, so what is the expectation? We should get all the data, right? We should get all the rows. Yes, if you don't pass any data, then you should get all the parameters. So what you should do, let's take each thing and print it on the console. Okay, so just for demo I'm showing this. In the real time it will be in a different mode, right? So we will get so we will expose some request parameter, so something like this, right? HTTP colon localhost 8080 or 8081 8082 whatever it is, some port. Okay, default is 8080 slash msk slash mobiles, then you will get all mobiles, right? You will get all the mobiles. If you pass name as a filter, right? Name as a filter, so you will get only that particular name related data, right? If you pass Samsung, then you will get only Samsung. Okay, if you apply price filter, how can you apply price filter? So it's going to be price equals to 10,000, you will get 10,000 Samsung with the 10,000 more, right? 10,000 price range. And if you wanted to apply line of business, right? Line of business, some more filter. Yes, LOB equals to, right? Online, right? Online. Yes. Still the same codes, the same method should give the result, right? And if you apply status online with status equals to available, right? Available, then it's going to be one method. We will write only one method, but it accepts all these optional parameters, right? So the same method, if you send mobiles, I mean, which you are not passing any filters, you're going to get all mobiles back. If you apply a name Samsung, okay, I want Samsung, it's the same method, it's a query parameter. So I told, right, query parameters supposed to be optional parameters, right? Placeholders are mandatory, whereas the path variable is mandatory parameter, but query parameters may come or may not come. So we will use query parameters for optional parameters. So name, if you pass name, then we will give only that particular name matching mobiles. If you pass Samsung, then Samsung mobiles will come. If you pass MI mobiles will come. Okay. Yes. If you pass Samsung with price range, I want, like, I just know I did the same thing on Amazon, right? Samsung with price range 5,000 to 10,000, then you will get, oh, Samsung with the specified price, So here we are going with one price, so that's why we are. But you can implement between also, it's fine, right? Price, in price, and the max price, min price, two parameters you can take, and you can do between operation also you can, right? And online store, price, Samsung price, and all these are optional parameters, may come, may not come. So if the parameter value is passing, then you should apply that filter. If the parameter name is not passing, then you is not supposed to apply the. So this is going to be the same thing, right? So in standalone also same thing. If you don't pass any parameter, right, we will write this code anyway. We will do implement this in our mobile service microservice, right? We will implement this feature for sure, but I just want you to show as a standalone how the things are going to. So that's why I'm just doing this, right? So let's run this code. So there is some query, named parameter not bound status, typo mistake.
SQL error.
It's a query typo mistake. So here status. Okay. So here we are passing status, right? It's supposed to match. Status supposed to match status. That's why we got error. Let's rerun. This time the expectation is how many number of rows are present in the table, right? Mobiles, those many records should come, right? So it's like eight rows are there, so you should get 8 records, right? 8 records. If you don't apply any filter, you should get all the mobiles. For example, you want to see only Samsung mobiles, right? Only Samsung mobiles. So let's go to our main application, right? Main application, and pass name as Samsung. So now the filter is applying, right? Second endpoint. In our case, it's a second endpoint. If name is coming, then we should pass that parameter. If name is not coming, we don't pass the parameter. So let's rerun the code. So with the Samsung name, how many number of mobiles are there? So those many records will be returning back, right? So it's like more real time kind of example. Okay, I know it's complicated thing. See, now we got only the mobile which has, right, Samsung name, right? In the Samsung also we have multiple, right, multiple prices, 10,000, 12,000, right? So let's fetch only 10,000 price, right? So I want to see only 10,000. So let's pass the second parameter, 10,000. Now you will get Samsung mobile with the 10,000. If somebody sending that price filter, now you will apply the price filter. If the price filter is not sending, then you will apply none, right? So we already checked with the price, without price. Let's check with the price. Now you see you got only Samsung mobile with price 10,000, with price 10,000. So now let's apply the third filter, right? So the third one is the status. For example, maybe from the front end you get a string, so you have to convert that into enum. So here you need to send the enum value. Status available. I will change that to later. I will change that to I will change it to later we will change this to available instead of AVA. I will give a full name, available, right? So it's more meaningful naming what price, right? So let's change it later. For now, let's go ahead and use the AVA. So now you will get Samsung mobile with 10,000 price and available, right? And you want to see only online, then you can say LOB dot online. So you will get. So we have very less data. That's why we are getting only one or two parameters, right? It's going to LOB dot online. Make sure you are passing the same data type. Okay. Don't pass string. It won't work. It will throw exception. Okay, because JPQL understand only Java, so if there is no string, right, so it will go exception. So you should pass the same exact parameter. Okay, now you will get only one record which is matching to all our four parameters. Okay, so it's a big story actually. Okay, we will start. I will tell you how we can do these things. Okay, there are so many ways we will do. First we will start with this, okay, placeholder, later named parameter, later we will keep the raw query HL, how native query is going to support, and we will do a named parameter examples. Okay, only on this filter we will play with so many types, named query, one more example, and finally I will remove this entire query. Okay, my favorite thing for this problem, right? My favorite solution for this problem called specifications, right? Specifications. So you no need to write even one query. It can be a JPA query or native raw SQL query. You know, I'll tell you, this is what is the perfect solution, best solution for this problem. But industry still use query only. The The problem is there are people who are good in writing queries, so they insist write the queries, but there is a huge problem with the model. The specification is the best solution for this kind of problem. Specification, and we don't write any query. It can be no JPQL, no native SQL, right? So JPQL also you should good in SQL. If you are not good in JPQL, then you can't write good JPQL, right? So some dependency, some dependency we have with the SQL. So I will remove the dependency by using a feature called specification. So specification is a perfect solution and the best solution, but problem is industry still don't use this. They feel comfortable using native SQL, right? Writing some SQL queries, that's why they follow this. But there is a huge problem behind this, right? For example, some data might be null, then you get some results delay, right? So while preparing the query itself, you should prepare with the parameters. What is the problem with this approach? You are first writing the query and you are passing that query. Some SQL intelligence, your intelligent query you are writing and you are passing, but there might be some problem if there are rows in the null, right? So if there are rows in the null, then there are like your query might take some time, right? So it is not the best solution. So what you should do while generating on demand base, you should generate the query, right? If name is coming, you should pass this query. If name and price is coming, you should pass this query. The remaining two columns you're not supposed to put it in your query. Let's go to the query and see what is the query which is getting generated here. See, even whether you are passing the filters or not, we are generating this complete query, right? So this is not good practice, right? So this is not the best solution. Based on the number of filters, you should generate the query. That is what is the best solution. So the solution is going to be applicable, right? So we will apply that by using a feature called specifications, right? Specifications. I hope nobody would have heard till now, right? In data JPA, the word called specifications. Let's go to the documentation. There it is there, right? Specification. So here it is. Okay, so this is the best solution for this kind of requirement. Okay, first, but anyway, we will learn everything. Okay, not only best solution, we will learn everything. We will come to know why it is best out of it. Okay, so we will start with JPQL placeholders, the name, finally native. How to write a raw native query also we will see one example. Then we will come up with one more feature called named query, and finally we go to specification. So it's a big story actually. One feature we can implement in 4 or like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 models, right? 5 ways we can implement it. But I recommend use specifications, but it may not be possible, right? Sometimes people will enforce you to use named query or JPQL, so you should go with that model, right? So that's why we are learning all this. Okay, but at least do you get what we are trying to do here? Okay, still is it
Yes,
confusing?
Anand.
I have one question.
Okay, if it is still confusion, it's fine. We will put that in the endpoint in our mobile service. We will implement it. Okay, so that is going to be a query string. Okay, we will take that filter and we will apply the filter and we will fetch the result. But at this point of time, you should understand why we are doing this. Our requirement is implementing filters, right? Requirement is implementing filters, and filters may come, may not come, and we don't know which filter the customer can choose. So we should support all the filters, right? So we should support name, price, LOB, and status, right? Status. So we should support all these filters. If the filter is coming, you should apply. If it is not coming, you're not supposed to apply. That is what is our requirement. So okay, so find by approach won't be suitable for this kind of requirement. So there are so many solutions are available, right? So you can write native query, you can write JPQL with placeholders, you can write named parameters, you can write named query, you can write specification. These are one example, but you should understand what is the requirement and how we gonna do that. at least one model.
Sunil, I have a question here. Suppose I want to get the max of the price or minimum of the price. Like how can I use?
Uh, find by query can be sufficient for your requirement. Just go
Okay.
and check in the find by thing. There max should be there.
Okay. Yeah, sure thing.
Okay, so for that find by is enough. No need to write any query. If find by is not there, then we can do a write query, max of that column.
Like any custom queries we can implement with this, correct?
This way, yes. Any customization we can use this at query.
No, like how about like hierarchical queries or like pivot queries? Something.
How you write the native query that can be directly implemented this way.
Yeah, same thing we can place it here. Okay.
If it is too much complicated writing JPQL, then write some native query.
Okay, yeah, sure.
That's why I said, right, I'll show one example with a native query. So where you feel too much complicated, then write your native SQL query and put it native. Fine.
Yeah, but basically like native queries are fully supported with JPQL. There is no issue and there is no exception.
No issue, no problem. But make sure, I mean, you should avoid writing native queries. For example, if your intention is like find by first name and last name, then don't write native query. Already JPA is supporting, right? By using find by methodology itself. Then don't do the. I mean, let's not make the things complicated, right? So let's go ahead and use find by itself. So it's up to you. You should take the decision. Okay. So for this also you can write a query. For this also you can write the query. But for these kind of easy things, don't write the queries. Let's go with the find by approach itself. If find by is supporting, let's use find by. That is more readable, more easy to develop, and it's fast and it is interoperable.
Yeah.
But anyway, this requirement is clear. What we are trying to do. We are trying to do the same thing, whatever we just now we saw in the Amazon.in. We are going to apply filters for our mobiles. So the filters are optional. If the filter is applied, we will apply it. If filter is selected, we will apply it. If it is not selected, then we don't apply it.
Yes, Sunil, it is clear.
Yeah, it's for everybody. The question is common for everybody. Abhi, Anshu, Chintesh, Hari.
Got it.
Yes, Sunil. Sir.
Yeah, people are slowly dropping. Okay. Yeah, but we will implement this for sure. Okay, we will implement this for sure. Maybe not today. We will start from tomorrow. So tomorrow, what we will do? We will stop this standalone model. Okay, we will go to our mobile service, right? So our actual microservice, and first we will integrate. Let me quickly open that. So for now, I remember we hard coded the data in the service, whether you have completed it or not. So that's what I remember in the last time when we write our mobile service. So no data integrations, right? We did it for country service by using JDBC. For mobile service, we didn't do any database integrations. For my knowledge, I think we are still getting the data from mobile service, which is hard coded data. Right? Let me open that. That is what I remember. Yeah, let's go to controller. The system is too slow. Come on. To open one Java file, this is almost taking too much time. It went into not responding state also. Okay. Open panning. Okay. So this is our service. In service, what did we do? Yeah, we are getting the data, right? Hard-coded data. So in the real time, this is nowhere you can find, right? So no hard-coded data. It's supposed to be real time. data coming from the database. So first we will integrate database, right? It is just a matter of providing few parameters in the in the resources and adding the data JPA and MySQL jar in the pom.xml file. That's it. Integration is done. So in country service, I believe we are getting the live data, right? So we did JDBC integration and I have completed two methods implementation and I asked you to complete the remaining methods by you, right? So three methods: country, saving the country, getting the country, all are getting. Get the country by code, get country by region, get all countries. So saving is there, update is there, and I remembered here we implemented JDBC functionality, right? JDBC, not data JPA. Yes, this is the JDBC. So this is what is the initial contract, right? Country service with the JDBC, mobile service with the data JPA. So tomorrow what we will do, we will remove this hard-coded data and we will fetch this data live from database, right? Live data from the database. Okay, and we will implement all four methods, right? Yeah. So let's go back to controller. So all these methods, right? Mobile by ID, getting mobile by ID, save mobile, and update mobile, delete mobile. Yeah. So here is the filter will come, get all mobiles. So right now we are blindly getting all the mobiles, right? No, not this. This is not the case, right? So we should also support filters, right? Filters. So we should take request param. Yeah. If parameter name is coming, right? Parameter name is coming. You should apply this filter. By default, every request parameter is a required parameter. So let's make it as required false, right? May come, may not come. If it is coming, you should apply. So you're not supposed to return all the mobiles when the name filter passed. You should apply that filter. The same concept is applicable for remaining properties also, right? Name, price, status, and LOB. All four filters we should implement. Okay, so one by one, right? So let's let it be price. Let it be price and price. Okay, and it's supposed to be in yes. So status, you get a string, you have to convert that into an enum, right? Enum. Yeah, we will also implement validations here itself, right? If the parameter is yeah. So while saving, right, we discussed that already. While saving, where it is saving, we didn't implement any validations. We will implement validations also, right? We will implement validations also, and we will implement an approach called DTO model approach, right? From front end, we will get the DTO with the validations, then we will convert that into model and we will save it into the data. And here also, this looks ugly, right? Multiple request parameters looks ugly. I will change this one also. Okay, so I will put all these things in a mode into a DTO class, and if the parameter is coming, populate. If it is not coming, so this is also ugly code. Don't do like this. But anyway, so our goal is, right, this method will take four parameters, and all those are optional parameter. If the parameter is passed, we will apply the filter. If the parameter is not passed, we don't apply the filter. Okay, so next 2 to 3 days, more real-time approach, we're going to implement this. We're going to change this in the mobile service. If you skip the class, for sure you miss a lot. Okay, and we do these kind of changes. First thing is we need to implement the validation, and we change this to DTO and model approach, and we do the data JPA integration. Okay, and we also implement filter for get all mobiles. Okay, and this is not the case. We don't use this request param like this, right? If you have 10 filters, you don't need to put all the 10 request parameters. So this is also not recommended approach. Then what is the suitable requirement? Okay, so next 2 days it's full of coding. We will change. We will do huge changes in this mobile service. Okay. Any questions? Okay. I think no questions. Let's.
No, good till now. Once the implementation only.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you guys. See you tomorrow at same time, 8:15 sharp. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Sunil. Thanks a lot.
And happy Ramjan. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wish you happy Ramjan, guys. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.